Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you the 21 best palettes that I tried for the first time in 2021. I know this video is coming a little bit late. I am definitely late to the party on my 2021 wrap-up videos, but there are certain videos that I still wanted to film even though I'm way behind. I decided not to do ranking every palette that I tried in 2021 just because I had so many palettes that I tried and was just not organized enough to do that. And then I thought about ranking the 21 best palettes that I tried, and I just do not have the brain capacity to rank these. I'm just gonna share all 21 with you and not rank them today. I didn't meditate this morning, so we're just not we're not there in terms of brain capacity to actually sit and rank these. But I love all 21 of these, and I tried them for the first time last year in 2021. So if you guys are interested in seeing my favorite palettes that I tried last year, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. All right, guys, I filmed a few videos so far in my new space, but I have this fan that I can't figure out how to turn off, and I know it's noisy in the background and I can't figure that out. And I also I'm trying to figure out my lighting and my setup, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. We're gonna work with what we got. Okay, I have 21 palettes sitting in front of me. And like I said, I did not feel like I had the brain capacity today to actually rank these palettes, but I can kind of talk to you about my tippity top favorites as we go through. But these are the 21 favorite palettes that I tried last year. I must have tried, I don't have an accurate number, I don't have an exact number, but definitely over 50 palettes last year. So, because I think when I did my mid-year ranking, which I can leave linked, I had over 50 palettes. Now granted, I'm counting quads and stuff in that, but we had a lot. Regardless, I'm rambling. Okay, let's get into it. We're gonna start with a couple of colorful palettes that aren't the most used in my collection, but in terms of colorful palettes, I really did love these last year. And we're gonna start with this one. This is the Kaleidos Flower Punk palette. So this is what this guy looks like. Maybe one day eventually I'll get back into actually doing cutaway clips. Will I get my life together enough to do that for this video? Probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, mine looks super messy. So when I first saw this release, instantly I knew I had to have it. And it's interesting because it's not necessarily a color story that speaks to me in terms of something I feel I can wear every single day. But I love I love the mint and the pink, and then the grungy end to this that kind of reminds me of the Melt Gemini palette. I feel those two, the end of this paired with Melt Gemini, would go hand in hand just perfectly. One of my favorite looks that I created this entire year was just using these 3 pink shades and then a black winged liner, and I just absolutely adored that look. And this is just a palette that definitely stands out in my eye as one of my favorites. I know some people are annoyed with the packaging of this. I kind of like it, I don't know. And then I just absolutely love the artwork on the front of this. I feel like Kaleidos kicks it out of the park, knocks it out of the park, kick it? What was I thinking? Kickball? Kick rocks? Kick rocks. No, I'm rambling. Where am I going with this? Kaleidos kicks it out, knocks it out of the park. Knocks it out of the park with their formula, packaging, artwork, all the things. So this was definitely a favorite for me in 2021. A palette I tried at the very beginning of 2021, I believe. I don't think I started trying this in 2020. It's all a jump. The palettes that I tried at the very beginning of 2021 confused me because there's quite a few that I ordered at the end of 2020 but didn't receive or didn't start trying till 2021. And this is one of them. This is the Menagerie Pastel Pup palette. If you are looking for a pastel palette that is going to offer good pigmentation and not be chalky, I highly recommend. I know it's not always the easiest to get this palette. It goes in and out of stock quite a bit, and every time that they would restock, I would try and be ready for it, and I missed out on this a couple of times, but I finally got my hands on this, and I really love this palette. When I do pastel looks, it's not a palette I use every day by any means, but I really like the white shade if I want to lay down something to brighten up other colors or other shadows. And then I love this shadow. Snowball shimmer shade. And like I said, the other shades are just amazing if you're looking for good quality pastels that aren't going to come across as chalky and they're going to offer good pigmentation. And then also, speaking of pastel palettes, I also really loved the Glam Light Ice Cream Dream or Ice Cream Truck palette this year. And I will say I definitely prefer the shimmers in this palette. I'm just more comfortable working with shimmers as opposed to like bright pastel mattes. I still had an easy time working with the pastels, and I think that the quality in this is really good as well. I've been really impressed with Glam Light, and I've had so much fun testing out some of their palettes this year. I want to say I purchased like 4 or 5 Glam Light palettes this year, and I actually have, we can just get right to that one. I actually have another Glam Light palette to mention, and that is the Chocolate Martini palette. I wasn't going to purchase this palette when this first released. I actually was more interested in the Dirty Martini palette, and then I decided not to get any of them. And then I was watching Lauren May Beauty review this palette and do a look with it, and I just thought it was such a pretty palette. It looked like it offered a little bit more range and a little bit more depth than like the photos that I was seeing on like Instagram looked like. Did I finish that sentence correctly? One of my other favorite looks that I created this year was with this palette, and I like this palette because it's neutral but has like just vibrant pops. I like the Glam Light metallic and shimmer formula. It's really punchy, and I think this is such a great palette. Highly recommend this one. Kind of sticking with the indie theme, the Odenseye Norns palette. This one kind of took me by surprise. Like, I was expecting I would like this one, but I wasn't expecting to get a ton of use out of it just because it is a deeper palette and not something that I could see myself wearing day to day. But I actually reached for this a ton. I really love the Odenseye Metallics shimmer formula as well. This bottom row, like this purple, green, and blue are so pretty. I also use the shade Pink Chameleon in the inner corner of my eye quite frequently. I also love Amber Palace right here. This is such a beautiful shade. Should I do this thing that everyone does? That didn't work. Like, nice job swatching stuff. Okay, this I don't even want to show you my swatch because my swatch doesn't look pretty, but I love this shade. I usually just like use my finger and then tap it all over my eyelid to kind of add just like a little bit of extra something, and I love it. I will say I don't use like the darker mattes all that often. Usually I'm reaching into this palette for just a couple of shades to add to a look that I've created with another palette, but I really enjoyed this palette, and I am just always interested in what Odenseye is releasing. There are a few releases from them last year that I was interested but didn't end up picking up that I still have my eye on, and will eventually make another Odenseye order and probably pick them up. I do have another Kaleidos palette to talk about, and it was the collaboration with Kaleidos and Angie. This is the Club Nebula palette, and I just think this is such a fun palette. Again, it's a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, a little bit more outside my comfort zone, but I love the shimmers, the toppers, this bottom row I love creating looks with. Another one of my favorite looks from this year just came from this bottom row of shades. And again, this is a palette I don't necessarily go into for a full look, but I'll jump in here just to pop one of these shimmers on my eyelids, and I just adore this palette. I think Angie did such a nice job with this, and this was definitely one of my favorites from last year. From Huda Beauty, I was really impressed with this little quad last year. This is the Martini Mini Crystal palette, and it's just a little quad, nothing special. You're not going to get a variety of looks from this by any means, but sometimes I like just a quick, simple, easy, I don't have to think about it, I'm just popping into an eyeshadow quad or whatever for just a couple of shades, and that is exactly what I get from this palette. I think that the one matte shade blends really easily, and the satins also just work to just really complete the look. I don't know, normally I don't like a satin sort of shade, but I really enjoy these two. And then I love this shimmer shade. I think it's so punchy, especially if you put it on top of like a glitter glue. Again, I feel like my swatches are not doing anything justice today, but that's okay, it's okay. Nevertheless, I really enjoy this little quad from Huda Beauty. It was definitely one of my favorites from last year. This next palette is from Vive Cosmetics, and I tried this towards the very tail end of 2021. I purchased this, I want to say, on Black Friday from Cult Beauty. This is the Muse palette. It looks like this. This is way bigger than I expected this palette to be. In terms of size, like if you guys know what the Huda Beauty palette's size is, like it's this is a huge palette. Honestly, if this was smaller, I could definitely handle a smaller palette rather than this big daddy, but this is still beautiful. I love the mattes. I think that they work and blend really seamlessly. They're really soft, really buttery. There is quite a bit of kick up, but that never really bothers me. I also really love the shimmers. I think they're beautiful. I always love a good mauve toned palette, and I was really impressed with this one and kind of want to pick up, what's her, is it like the classic, her original palette? Now I'm interested in picking that up. I could see myself, next time I purchase something from Cult Beauty, I could see myself tossing that in the cart. Okay, I couldn't get through this video without talking about a Nabla palette, and I think I tried this in 2021. Perhaps it was the tail end of 2020, but the Nabla side-by-side palette, you guys, if you're not new to my channel, you know I rave about Nabla Cosmetics all the time. I'm obsessed with the brand. I literally love like everything that they come out with. I love their eyeshadow formula. I think they have a really good variety of textures. And the side-by-side I just absolutely adore. I was a huge fan of the ABH Soft Glam, and I feel like this is the Soft Glam, but just like amped up a notch. It offers some cooler tones and just a little bit more variety than the Soft Glam did. I love this palette so much that I was comfortable decluttering my ABH Soft Glam, which was a huge moment for me. And this palette just gets a ton of use out of me. Definitely a favorite in my collection and a favorite from 2021. Let's see, let's go with this one from Lunar Beauty next. This is the, so I tried 3 palettes from Lunar Beauty last year, and this was definitely my favorite. I also really liked the Greek Goddess palette, but I think maybe that's been discontinued. This one is, again, the Eternal Eclipse palette, and I love this palette because it's neutral, but you can also like make it like sultry and fun and colorful-ish with like the pops of blue. It's just a little bit different. Like, I have many of these shades throughout my collection, but put into a palette, I like the layout. I like the way that it go, I don't know, there's just something special about this palette. I love the top shimmers. I can create like an all matte neutral look with the middle row, and if I'm feeling a little bit daring, I can go into the bottom blue row as well. I just think that Lunar Beauty's formula is really good. I'm definitely interested in every palette or every release that they have. Not saying that I'm going to pick everyone up. In fact, his most recent launch I didn't pick up. I can't remember what it was. The color story didn't speak to me, but this was a great one, and I tried this for the first time in 2021. Okay, I have 3 ColourPop palettes that are in my favorites of 2021, and I'll go in order that I brought them into my collection. So up first, I have the Wild Child palette, and this is such a nice palette. I purchased this kind of because I just wanted to complete my collection. Like, they marketed this with the It's Taupe palette and the Going Coconuts palette, so I just felt like I needed to have it, like this sultry neutral palette. And I gotta say, I love this, especially if I'm going for like a pretty smoky eye. I just think this is so beautiful. It's the good ColourPop formula that just blends really easily. The shimmers pop. I think it's a great palette. Definitely a favorite from last year. Then I purchased the Limoncello palette, and I was also very, very impressed with this palette. It's just a neutral palette with like a pop of blue, but I love the like pops of yellow and like this green shimmer as well as this yellow shimmer shade. It's just a palette that I continued to want to reach for last year, so I definitely had to include it in my top 21. And then also the Cabana Club palette. This is a palette that I wasn't even going to purchase. I ended up purchasing this with the Lush Life palette so that I could get free shipping, and I ended up really enjoying this palette. Again, it's the great ColourPop formula that blends really easily. I love that it's just neutral with some fun shimmer pops. It's just like my kind of palette, and I really enjoyed this one. Okay, I tried to adjust my lighting because I felt like I was darker on this side of my face. I don't know if I fixed anything. But last year, I decided to give Viseart another try. I've never been a huge fan of Viseart palettes. I'd only tried a couple, but I wasn't impressed ever with their formula, and I ended up just loving this one. This was the Soleil Le Plage. This is what this one looks like. It's just such an easy palette. Like, I would choose this palette to create like wear to work looks all of the time. It's one that I wore to work very, very frequently. It obviously has the pop of blue, but I don't know, there's just something about this that's very summery and just like sparks joy in me when I look at it. It just like looks like summertime and just like a good time. I don't know, and I really liked the way that these shadows blended. They're definitely more of a buildable formula, which I definitely came to appreciate this past year. Sometimes just a buildable formula is what I need and what I like, and I was really impressed with this one from Viseart, and it made me want to try more from them. I haven't purchased another Viseart palette since, but I'm definitely interested in the releases since purchasing this. I tried NARS eyeshadow formula for the first time last year and absolutely fell in love with the NARS Summer Solstice palette. I feel like I talked about this quite a bit in the summertime. This is like, or was my go-to palette all summer long. I felt like I was reaching into this palette every single day. Again, just like reminds me of like a warm summery look, a warm summery day, and it's just very easy to use. I like their like lid topper shades because you can sheer them out or you can build them up. I think they're really nice. Typically with NARS, everything seems to be limited edition with like their face palettes and their eyeshadow palettes, so I don't think that you can get this anymore, but definitely have my eye on all of the NARS eyeshadow releases since picking this up. I also tried Sigma eyeshadow palettes for the first time last year and fell in love with the Corderosa palette. So this is what this one looks like. Very, very warm toned, very beautiful coral. Again, just like warm summery sort of like shades and a warm summery vibe. This is a palette that I really enjoyed using. This is a palette that I wasn't expecting to love, but I really liked the textures of some of the shimmers and more like cream to powder shadows in here. I felt like the formula was really easy to work with. Loved the color story. Loved this one from Sigma. I also got a ton of use out of the Too Faced the Natural Nudes palette last year. This is just such a staple palette that I feel like just about anyone could find value in their makeup collection. You've got neutrals, mauves, and like warm browns, and it's just so easy. It's just so easy. Like if I'm traveling, this is coming with me because this really can do all the things that I need it to do. And I used this so much last year, it felt wrong not to include this in this video. Not that this would be like the most exciting palette to use, but it's just like, it's kind of like, oh, like in your wardrobe, what do they call it? Like the underwear of, like, it's like the foundation of an eyeshadow collection. Like it's just a staple. So I did love that one. Next up I have the Natasha Denona Retro palette. I really did enjoy this one. I do love a good mauve toned palette, and that is exactly what I'm getting with this eyeshadow palette. I love the shimmers, love the mattes. It's the good Natasha Denona quality. I just love her midi palettes in general, so it felt wrong not to include this. This is another one I tried towards the tail end of 2021, but the Rose Quartz palette from Huda Beauty. You guys know I love my Huda Beauty. I love my Mercury Retrograde palette. So I was really excited when I saw this palette release. I just thought it was so aesthetically pleasing just to even look at, but I really do like the formula. I think the formula is good. I know sometimes Huda Beauty can be, actually all the time, Huda Beauty is very hit and miss, but I felt like the formula on this worked really well for me. I always feel like her shadows, even when I'm using like browns, just kind of pull more pinky, and I definitely get that with this as well. But I love the different textures and tones in this palette, and by far, even though I didn't use it as much as some of my other palettes that I'm including in this video, this was a favorite for me in 2021. All right, we're down to the final two. Another Huda Beauty palette, this one. The Huda Wild Tiger. I almost did not purchase this palette because I did not feel like I needed it. I purchased the Jaguar, the Tiger, and the Python, and I'm so glad that I purchased this one. Out of the three, this one is obviously my favorite. I love this middle pink shade. It's like a duochrome pink to gold, and it's just so pretty. I also feel like some of the mattes in this palette I don't necessarily have exact dupes of in my collection. Obviously this is a more neutral leaning palette, but I still find it unique to my collection, and I just really enjoy this one. I feel like this is the better Huda quality. It's, again, sometimes the Obsessions palettes can be super hit or miss, but I felt like the quality in all three of them that I purchased were really good. So of all three, this is my favorite and one of my favorite palettes in 2021. And then the final palette I have to share is likely, if I'm looking at all these, my tippity top favorite of all the palettes I tried in 2021. It is the Artist Couture Supreme Bronze Palette. I love the Artist Couture formula. I love the packaging. I think the packaging is super sleek. I think the formula is very easy to work with. The mattes are buildable. There's not too much kick up in my opinion, although I will say in the snack palette I purchased the little mini. I feel like that one has a lot more kick up than my larger palettes, but regardless, I still find the mattes super easy to work with, very easy to blend. They're not chalky, they just blend seamlessly together, and I think it's such a gorgeous color story as well. I also love my Supreme Nude palette. I just honestly get so excited thinking about anything else that Artist Couture could be releasing in terms of eyeshadow. So yeah, that is gonna wrap it up for today's video discussing my 21 favorite eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2021. I would love to know, did you purchase new eyeshadow last year? What was your favorite, least favorite? Let a girl know in the comments down below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.